Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 808, the Hawaii episode.
Oh, good call. I was going drum machine, you in Hawaii. Both quality 808s.
It's not it's not literally Hawaii. It's just 808.
It's their...
It's the area code. It's my favorite. I like it. I like the 808.
Yeah.
And the 404.
Yeah.
City not found.
Number palindromes.
Duncan Jones is on the podcast today.
Ooh.
He's going to be promoting Warcraft, which is in theaters June 10th. And also, you can watch the Warcraft 360 video. We made a 360 video over at the Nerdist headquarters, which will be up soon on Nerdist.com. But, god damn it, I like that Duncan Jones.
He is a real cool guy.
He's fucking cool, and he's really funny. And he was very open and very honest and sweet. And I don't know. I feel like I got to make him hang out with me more.
Yeah.
I'm going to start friend stalking him.
I like it.
A little bit.
Keep bringing a 3D camera around.
Let's just sit around. We'll just walk around in circles around the camera, Duncan,
And then someone
please.
can like virtually friend stalk both of you, and then it just becomes this weird, Cronenbergian onion.
And he legitimately works on stuff that he likes. Like,
yeah. He's the real deal. I did not know what to expect, and I was genuinely impressed by the man.
So please go see Warcraft, which is June 10th. And we have a Nerdist Community Corkboard, I believe.
I do.
Kyle Clark, would you like to hip us to your vibe, man?
Yeah, I've got one. It's Scares That Care Weekend. Chris, you and I are both horror movie fans.
I believe we are.
This is a retired cop who's obsessed with horror movies, set up a whole horror convention where all the proceeds go to help sick children.
Oh, man.
That's
so nice.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of helping sick children and doing it with terrifying monsters. It's in Williamsburg, Virginia. It's July 24th through 26th. Go to scaresthecareweekend.com. And every year, one of their mainstays who shows up every year, because he also likes helping sick children, none other than my friend and yours, Sid Haig.
Oh, Sid Haig!
He sent
Captain
you to
Spaulding.
your death. He spoke in my drama class a bunch of times back in high school and was super cool to me. I love this man.
I got blood all over my good clown suit.
Captain Spaulding for president.
Captain Spaulding for president.
So there we go. So go to scaresthecareweekend.com.
Williamsburg, Virginia.
It's a
The
good
other
time.
Williamsburg. Although if you live in Williamsburg, Virginia, you're like, fucking no.
it's the
one
original
over there
Williamsburg.
is the other Williamsburg. We're the original Williamsburg.
Like the founding ass Williamsburg.
That's right. You can't get more hipster than that.
No.
We were Williamsburg before fucking Williamsburg, motherfucker. What do you got, Katie?
I want to plug some of the other shows we have on the network. The Bachelorette is back.
What?
So the Bachelorette podcast we have, hosted by Artem Marine and Aaron Foley, called Will You Accept This Rose, is back on. It's so funny. It's like one of my favorite podcasts to work on. I love it. We've had Patrick Brewster on. We had Fortune Feimster. It's a good time, so make sure to check that out. Also, Chewin' It has had some really great guests lately. And then the Jackie and Laurie show, which Kyle is producing. And we have so many more. So go to Nerdist.com and click on podcast.
Great. And then I will be on the East Coast in a bunch of smaller towns doing the brand new ID10T tour.
Nice.
Which are jokes that were not in the Fun Comfortable special.
Very fun. And I'm at the Laughing Skull Comedy Festival in 2 weeks. If you guys are in the Atlanta area, you guys should come out.
And you're near the Vortex, and you see a comedy club nearby around the corner. You walk in there and see Kyle Clark. Here's Nerdist Podcast number 808 with Mr. Duncan Jones.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
So I guess this is the Nerdist Podcast in 360. Duncan Jones, here we are in a 360 environment.
Is this the first one? Is this the first 360?
You're the first 360 that we've done. Wow. Yeah, no! Yeah, it's just like watching. We were walking in circles before. If we walked around this entire, people could actually follow the entire. But then I feel like what's going to happen is, for the most part, watching this in 360, if people start looking down at your shoes, then you really are not. Yeah, we've lost them. We're not doing a good job. They already are looking around all over the place. But what are you? How did this incorporate with Warcraft, and what elements of this did you guys pull in?
Well, I mean, Warcraft is obviously massive, and there's a huge universe and world that we're trying to create. And we built an awful lot of sets, so we actually have a lot of environments, I think, that are going to you're going to be able to look at and experience in this 360, in this VR. We built something called Elwyn Forest, which is an environment that a lot of people who play the game will be familiar with. And just to get the scale of that and to create something that actually felt like the game, we decided to build it rather than try and find a real forest that would match it.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can see some of that. And just the scale of it is massive.
What do you do with a forest once you build it?
Picnics, romantic walks.
Is it still there?
No. So much of that stuff is crazy that you spend so much time building these incredible places, and then everything just gets scrapped at the end of shooting. I mean, they keep it for a little while just in case you need to go back and do reshoots, but then it's gone, and it drives you crazy because I've been fortunate that I've done a few films where we've done some pretty incredible builds, and all of them are gone now. There's none of these things exist anymore. None of these places exist, which I think is kind of cool when you get films like Harry Potter when they go to Universal and they build a section of it so you can go visit it.
Yeah, I visited it. I got this Hogwarts shirt.
Oh, that's what that is?
Yeah,
that's
Hogwarts
amazing.
crest. Yeah, I was
that's
there.
Very cool.
I left with way more wands than I came in with. I'll just say that. But it's almost...
Well, you were excited.
I was very excited. Yeah, I needed a Death Eater wand as well as an Elder wand, all right? Okay? I just felt like they needed to balance each other. And I needed the holder that they could both sit in. But it almost feels like you spend so much time creating this environment that your job as a director is basically just to scrapbook it. You need to save as much of it as you can.
It's tragic. I'm very fortunate. My wife comes with me wherever I work, and she's a photographer, so she takes all these great pictures of what's going on. Otherwise, there really would be nothing other than the film, of course,
right,
to remember the experience. Because half the fun is making it and being in these places that you sort of have worked with people to come up with. That's just an amazing experience to be on a set of a place that you just had as a written description in a script.
What do you think was the most incredible achievement in terms of what you were able to build? When you saw it, you were like, "Holy shit! I never thought we'd be able to construct that."
The throne room was pretty impressive. It's such an iconic environment in the game, and then to actually be able to work with Gavin Bouquet and the guys who designed it to sort of transfer it into a real world environment rather than the more stylized environment from the game, and then have this fantastic throne and that whole room built in 360. So you go in there and you really do feel like you're in the game at that point.
I really feel if I were able to take something, I don't even think the thing that I would want isn't even the biggest thing. I just want Medivh's lair. If I could just have that as my house, I would be very happy.
That's one of those ones where we overbuilt, we overspec'd on that one. We built this incredible environment, and I think in the film you probably get 30% of it, rather than actually how much of that place we built. But that was a phenomenal environment too. That was great.
I mean, extras, just shoot extras. You
absolutely.
You just run around and shoot stuff and go, I know this isn't going to be in the movie, but I just need to capture this. It's going to be, use it for something.
Well, if it wasn't such a security issue, I wished all the crew just had cameras and they could all just getting extra footage of all of the stuff we were doing, because there was never enough time to sort of capture all of the behind the scenes things that were going on, which were just as, fun for people like me who love filmmaking and what goes on to do it, to be able to see all that stuff. That's a lot of fun.
What you need to do is get Legendary to build basically a Warcraft land.
Warcraft
you need
world.
a theme park, a World of Warcraft, if you will.
Where as you go in through the front gates, they basically challenge you to a duel and beat you.
That's right. Or you pick a side. There's two gates.
Two parks.
Two parks. You go through one portal to go through here. You go to another portal if you want to be Alliance, you go this way. If you want to go Horde, you go this way.
I think this film would have to do over $1 million before that happens.
$1 million. It's impossible. Who has that kind of money, Duncan? Who has that kind of money? I mean, did the scale of this movie terrify you at all because I know you've been a gamer your entire life. I know you're the real deal guy. I know we've discussed the forums that you used to hang out in and the stuff that. So you obviously understood the gravity.
Super.
Yes, super. I still have to play this game, but you understood the gravity of taking this undertaking, and so how did you approach that?
I surrounded myself with the best of nerds and geeks that I could find. No, I mean, I had amazing people around me, and a lot of them were very, very familiar with what Warcraft is and what it means to people. Whether it's Bill Westenhofer, who is my VFX supervisor, was a longtime player of Warcraft. Rob Kaczynski, who I'm sure you've met, he has his stories that he tells you about how it saved his life.
Yeah.
Because it really was something that he was so into and that he played for such a long time, and at a point in his life where he needed to reintegrate into life. Between them and Jeff White at ILM, there's just so many people who are hardcore and long-term players of the game that we all knew what it was that we wanted the film to be, even before the sort of studio did.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of pushing the way, saying, no, this is it. This is what it needs to be.
And when you started, was there a moment when you started working on the film where you started to feel like, oh, I think it's kind of falling into place? Like maybe before that day you go, I don't know, and then you show up and you go, oh.
Every stage. I mean, I think we worked with this incredible guy called Wei Wang, and he has a fantastic name.
Yes.
And he also has a fantastic history. He was a fan of Warcraft, based in China, didn't speak any English, started sending in fan artwork of characters and elements of the game. They were so blown away by his work, they actually brought him across to the US to work for Blizzard.
Oh, wow.
So he became our lead creature designer. And did all of the artwork that became Duratan and Blackhand and Orgrim and Draka and all of our main characters. And just sort of having that, again, it's all about it coming from fans through this amazing opportunity to make a big film like this.
Yeah, I mean,
it is the ultimate fan film. I mean, it really is the ultimate fan film.
But I saw it a year ago. I think I saw a cut of it a year ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like, and obviously, listen, Legendary owns us, and you work for them, so I'm sure people expect us to go. It's like the greatest.
Wait a second.
I'm sorry. Well, that's what that symbol is right there that people can. That's the crest. But
did you get the tattoo?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I had to.
It was required.
Yeah, it was required. Yeah, but that's how they scan me when I come into work. Yeah. But I really honestly did. I was able to enjoy the film from two different perspectives of understanding stuff about the game and seeing the Easter eggs that are in there that if you're a fan you understand, but it didn't feel so exclusive that if I didn't know what Warcraft was, I mean it's just a really great fantasy tale between these two races that are both fighting for what they believe in, and I don't. That's a pretty basic story, you know.
Absolutely, and I went in there with two hats on. I went in there as a fan and wanting to get it right for the fans, but I also went in there as hopefully a filmmaker that sort of knows what I want to do as far as telling stories. And I think it was absolutely essential to me that it had to work in its own right as a film.
Yeah.
So on a very kind of a practical level, I wanted this to be a film that moved beyond just fans of the game to really to a broader audience, and that was my priority. That was my agenda.
It's got to be weird. You've been sitting with it for so long, and we're just on the precipice of everyone's gonna see it.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be out there in the world, and it's not really yours anymore at that point. Does that feel weird? Like once you release it to the fans, as a fan of stuff, it's like it kind of becomes theirs.
That's true, and it's interesting because I think every stage of, I would imagine, any franchise or any kind of pre-existing universe where you're kind of building a film from it, whether it's Star Wars or comic books or video games. Every additional iteration of the story becomes the new lore. And you are now establishing what is going to be canon for future things which get made. And right now, I'm not canon. Right now, I'm anti-canon.
Right.
Now I'm the thing that people who are fans of it are maybe a little bit suspicious of. But hopefully, they'll see the film and they'll feel, this was made with love and respect for what it is that we are fans of, and they'll bring that into their hearts.
I just hope people go in open-minded, because I feel like Netflix just announced today they're going to do Death Note.
Yeah.
And so I tweeted, I was like, hey, this is really awesome. Netflix is going to take a crack at Death Note. And a lot of people are very excited, but there are a couple of like, well, this is going to suck. And it's like, you don't know anything about it.
You don't even have to finish saying Death Note. It's just death. Oh, it's going to suck.
And also, if you kind of look at historically, like Netflix has done a pretty good job. Like even if you look at the evidence of what they've done, it's like, but there are some people that no matter what, just come in because
compulsive contradictors.
Well, yes, because as fans and because things get things become very personal to us, and we don't want to get hurt.
Yeah,
and so we
absolutely.
just
I think that
are
is
like
it.
like the defensive posture is going to be like, well, this has to suck. It's going to suck because I can control that.
Yeah, Yeah, you can't. Yeah, they didn't get under my skin. I didn't feel anything, so I'm kind of protected from opening up to it.
I'm always excited as a fan when someone takes a crack at something because. It could suck or it could be great, but even if it sucks, it doesn't. This idea that something's ruined because you didn't like a version of it. Well, that's your you can still love the thing that you love. You don't have to like the new thing.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's your prerogative and that's your right. But it doesn't. But I think it's ridiculous to say like, well, it's all ruined now. And I feel like people have such a let's knock everything off the table kind of a thing. I just want people to be more open-minded about their fandoms and not so closed off.
It's hard, and I agree with you. But I mean, is there anything that you would feel so precious about that you would just like, oh no, don't do that, don't touch that. That's too important to me.
Yeah, if someone was like, we're going to make an American version of Doctor Who, I'd be like, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, you can't do that. So, I mean, I say this, and I know I have things...
You didn't like the idea of that with Bruce Campbell?
Well, I think that would be like a fun... I think you would
like
have
a spoof Doctor Who.
You would have
almost.
to yes, you would
like
have to justify
special.
it as like a Christmas special, or like a comic relief special, or as like maybe a even if they said like there was a tear in the universe and this thing split off, and like. As long as it had some tether.
Look at you retconning the universe.
I know, well, I'm trying because I love Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Although I think Bruce...
You don't have to have all of your favorite desserts in one bowl.
I think Bruce would make a better master, though. I honestly think Bruce would make a pretty great master. Than a doctor. But that's my So I do give the big dad speech about come on, you kids. But I also know that you're right. I do have things where I go, yeah, I don't know if I would...
I'm sure he's got other things that he'd rather do, but I'd love to see Idris Elba as Doctor Who.
Idris Elba would be...
He could do anything, to be honest.
Spectacular. I think he would have been an amazing Bond. I really think he would have been such a spectacular Bond, but that guy is... Do you know him?
No, I met him once very briefly at one of Edgar Wright's things, but he's very tall. I'm very short, though, so...
You're not...
I'm stocky.
We're medium-sized.
I'm built for dwarf mocap.
You know what? There's a name for us. We're medium whites.
Yes,
that's what we are.
That's true. With beards,
with medium whites with beards. Yeah, medium white guys with beards. Yours is a little more. Yours is more involved.
It is. No, I'm hoping for the day where I can sort of Viking braid it, but
that's what I'm not there yet. I'm surprised you didn't like fully grow it out for
one day.
You were directing.
I don't think my wife was ready for that yet. But now that we have a baby on the way, I'm sure it'll be useful. The baby can like put things in it.
You could blame it and keep it there and go back to it later. It's pretty fun. It's really fun to have you on, considering we just had Sam Rockwell on.
Oh, you did?
Sam's episode just went up a couple.
You're kidding me! I didn't know
that. And
I watch the show all the time. I listen to the show.
You would listen to it.
Yeah,
you would watch with your ears. You would watch with your ears.
I'm just digging myself in deeper here.
It's
smell-o-vision, right?
It's smell-o-vision. Yeah, everything we do is odor-based.
Scratch and sniff.
Scratch and sniff podcast. It's a scratch and sniff cast. I'm sure it's probably just in your queue of all the episodes.
It is. No, it is. It's after all my home repair.
Well, this news story broke because we were talking about Galaxy Quest, and he casually mentioned they were supposed to be in the middle of shooting Galaxy Quest 2.
Oh, right.
But then Alan Rickman passed away, and then Tim Allen was unavailable, and so it all sort of fell apart.
Yeah.
And so now there's this kind of mini outcry of like, there was almost a Galaxy Quest 2, and now it's not going to happen.
I hate you, Chris Hardwick. It's your fault.
No, I was just the messenger. I wasn't even the messenger. Sam was the messenger.
Well, hopefully I'll get a chance to work a little bit with Sam on I'm doing Mute next, which is this sci-fi thing I've been trying to make for over 14 years now.
Oh my God.
I know, when you were a babe in arms.
No, I was still very much an adult. I was very much a creepy adult by that point.
But Sam's going to do a little cameo in that, so that'll be fun.
So 14 years. So this is why filmmakers...
It's my Don Quixote.
How could that go wrong? No, but for 14 years to sit with an idea, this is what is fascinating to me about filmmakers: the patience that you will harbor something for that long.
Yeah.
and not at some point go, oh, just fuck it, you know? Like, how do you keep the passion going for something, and how has it changed in 14 years?
Well, what you do is you bury it deep inside, and then you just push it down, and you push it down some more, and you just keep pushing down on this angry little ball of rage that you have about not making this thing until I mean, you just have to be patient.
Kind of, yeah. That is kind of what I imagine you have to do.
You find, the good thing is that it's much better now than it was back when I had just gotten out of film school and I hadn't made any movies yet, and I wanted to make it with Sam Rockwell.
Right.
It was just kind of it was a very different project back then. And after 14 years and a lot more experience, it's obviously evolved quite considerably.
Yeah.
So it's a better film, much better film now than it would have been back then.
What's the basic idea of it, can you say?
It's about humans and orcs, and no, that's
Warcraft.
Wrong spiel.
That's
sorry.
Warcraft.
No, it's a science fiction film. It's basically sci-fi Casablanca.
Oh wow!
There you go, in Berlin. So it takes place in the future in a Berlin which is weirdly, because it was actually written a while ago, but is becoming very much a cross. A sort of a melting pot of cultures as East meets West in Europe.
Yeah.
And it actually it's an awful lot about people trying to get into Berlin and get out of Berlin, and a guy whose significant other goes missing at the start of the film, and he has to find her.
Well, I think it's good that, for any young filmmakers to hear that it's not always a bad thing if something takes a while to make, because maybe whatever technology wasn't ready for this movie yet. Now it can be that much better that 14 years, even in just a short amount of time. What you see in film in the past 14 years has so dramatically shifted.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you? By the way, you can pull this out, and if you want to sit back,
oh, nice.
You don't have to.
I'll do it in a minute, maybe.
You don't have to.
I'm going to save
forward.
that
I just
for
want
a big moment.
I want you to be as comfortable. You're going to pull the mic out
I'm
so that you can.
I'm going to say something
drop
very
it?
intimate, and then I'll drop the mic
and then walk out.
Yeah.
And we never saw him again. That's why I think it's so interesting to see. I feel like it used to be that filmmakers maybe were expected to make the same kind of movie or the same scale of movie over and over again, but Moon is a very intimate movie, and Warcraft is a very large movie.
Yeah.
So do you feel that you like to be challenged in terms of scale and type of story? Like each
Definitely.
time,
I mean, there's no instruction manual as to how to be a director, and there are people who come out of all different walks of life who are interested in being directors or find a way to become a director. I took a very long route. I went through low-budget music videos and commercials and things back in the UK, and worked my way through that to the point where I got the chance to make Moon, which was my own project, but it was very small and intimate, like you said, and it was very personal, and that's how I approached that. And the challenge of that, obviously, we wanted to give the audience something engaging, even though we didn't have a lot of money, so we got Sam Rockwell to play multiple roles. So that was the technical challenge.
You only had to pay him once, though, right?
Yeah, I only had to pay him. Yeah. I don't have to pay him by iteration. It's
his agent was like, "Wait a minute."
It's all like, "Wait a second,
you have to pay him a lot.
Hey.
You're getting like 6 Sam Rockwells here. You need to pay 6 Sam Rockwells."
No, we bought the Sams in bulk, so it was cheaper. It was cheaper that way.
It's at Costco.
Yeah,
you went to Costco, got your Sam Rockwell,
and then Source Code was obviously again. I liked the challenge. I liked the puzzle solving aspect of how do we tell this nugget of a story in multiple times, in a Groundhog Day kind of way, but make sure that each time it feels new and that it actually adds to the storytelling. So that was I enjoyed the challenge of that, and Warcraft obviously is challenging because it's the biggest thing there is to make as a movie.
But you still have to figure out how to make it
intimate and get the audience to care about the characters, and get characters like Duratan that the audience are absolutely going to fall in love with.
What was the weirdest British commercial you made when you were starting out?
The very, very first thing I did, which was my first job, I think I got paid a couple of £100 for it, was for...
That's like 10,000 American dollars now.
That's right. Actually, no, they paid me in bales of straw.
Oh, okay.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was
it was an MTV dating show. Do you remember that?
Come on,
honestly, and I did a commercial for that
for Singled Out
in the UK for Singled Out in the UK back in
the UK version.
Yeah,
because I did the American version.
Really?
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
I thought that's why you brought that up.
No, honestly.
I was in the I hosted the United States version of that.
That's amazing.
And it was very big, and then then Germany made their own version, and the UK made its own version, but that was my show.
Destiny. Look, the two of us finally come together.
I'm so glad that Singled Out was good for something.
Across the ocean.
We both started on Singled Out, and yet we managed to get past it somehow.
It's funny, if you ask just about anyone, Singled Out is somehow involved in their careers. Anyone who works in the film industry.
I've never actually seen the British version, and I went to the UK.
Bad teeth.
Of course. I went to the UK. I had bad hair. I had that 90s drapey hair. But I was in
I'd just like to apologize to anyone British. I don't actually think we have bad teeth. We don't have bad teeth.
Your teeth are actually very nice.
Thank you.
I
bought them myself.
I can see they're straight and perfect.
Individual.
I'm actually jealous of your teeth. Yeah, I was in the UK, I think in the late 90s or something around thereabouts, and
right.
I got the production house number of whoever was producing Singled Out in the UK, and I left a message. I'm like, I do the American version of this show. Can I come see it? And they never called me back. They never called me back. They weren't concerned.
They probably just thought you were some creepy American dude looking for a date. I really want to be on your show.
I got to show you the
from
pictures.
America.
It's so funny. What was the commercial that you shot? Do you remember?
It was kind of cool, actually. It had a nice little technical gag going on where we were kind of in a bar, and there was a couple at one table. There was basically a series of tables, one after the other, and the camera was a single camera move, so you'd move from one table to the next. And each time there'd be a different couple, and then you'd start realizing that they were the same people in different combinations.
Yeah.
And it was all in camera. So there was basically just actors running behind the camera and sitting down at the next table.
Funny. That's so strange.
Yeah.
That's so weird. It's very rare that my mind can get blown in that kind of way, but that's so strange. I just thought you brought that up because you knew and you were giving me shit about
honestly,
it.
that's weird.
You're too nice a guy. That's what I'm surprised.
I'm too nice to have worked on Singled Out.
No, yes, you're too nice to have worked on that.
It's
what
a
are you
cutthroat
doing?
business.
Where did you go to film school?
A place called London Film School in London, just off Covent Garden. It's a great place. The building is ancient. They don't have an elevator, so basically, if you want. The studios are like on the 3rd and 4th floor. If you wanted to build a set up there, you'd have to carry everything up the stairs. But it was tough back then.
Is film school in today's age of online tutorials and everyone can just pick up a camera and make stuff and put it online? Do you believe film school is still necessary? It's still a necessary part of the process?
I don't know, and I know that different film schools approach things in different ways. What I did love about my film school was that it made you do all the jobs you would never have chosen to do yourself. And I think what's great about that is the best experience you can have, I think, to make movies is to just work on things being shot. And if you never think that you're going to be interested in, I don't know, cinematography is a bad example because that's one of the more of the glamour jobs up there with director. But if there was a particular job that you never thought you would be interested in, at film school, at least at my film school, they'd make you do it. And you'd work on lots of other people's short films and get experience in every department doing every job. And that, to me, was the most worthwhile part of it. So
sort of the guided structure of it is worth it for someone who's considering.
I think so, because I think if you're fortunate enough that you got a couple of $100 saved and you've got an iPhone and you've got some buddies who think they can act and you're shooting stuff on your own, you're going to do it as the director. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you're going to sort of strive to be the position that you think you want to end up in. And like I said, I think what's great about my film school was that it absolutely made you understand what everyone else's job is and do it. You might not do it great, but at least you'd know what it is that they're trying to do and what their responsibilities are.
I mean, I think as a director, as the guy who's sort of piloting that ship, you probably should know what everyone's job is.
Absolutely.
So you even know how to direct not just actors, but different people on the crew for what you're trying to achieve.
But, there's absolutely other ways you can do it than go to film school. You can just be, really keeping your eyes open when you're working on stuff of your own and learn how to do it yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't know. Forgive me. I don't know if Sam Raimi ever went to film school, but I've heard the stories about him back in the day making his own equipment and sort of shooting things with his buddies. That's a fantastic way to learn what you need to know how to direct.
Yeah, when they were making Evil Dead, they were basically just like in that shack, just camping out, guarding all the equipment,
absolutely,
and just out,
brilliant,
kind of making it.
And
that
must have been so much fun. I bet he had more fun making those films than he does making films today.
Probably so, just in the sense that, there are certain... The lack of resources, I think, does force a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
And that process is very rewarding, even if you don't realize it in the moment. In retrospect, and you look back and you go, holy shit, that was amazing.
It's so hard. I mean, it's such hard work making a movie at any level, honestly. I think, I think anyone who's achieved making a movie, good or bad, has, there's a siblinghood of all of us who've made a movie, in that you've achieved something which a lot of people haven't experienced before, and there are certain challenges and experiences that you go through that no one else will have had.
Yeah, and I think do you feel like that's made you more sympathetic when you see something and you go, well, it wasn't really as great, but they probably had, maybe there was this hardship or that happened.
Absolutely. Me or Gareth Edwards or Ryan, if we were looking at each other with a 1,000-yard stare across a party, we can give that little nod to each other. Yeah, we know what we've been through.
The Rogue One teaser came out today, and it looks real good.
It looks very juicy.
We are in Star Wars Renaissance, you guys. We're in it.
Look, it's fantastic. I'm a fan of those films. I hope they do well. I enjoy them. I just hope that an equal amount of enthusiasm and support were out there for things that were not based on pre-existing franchises.
Of course.
Have you seen Midnight Special? That's a great film. I think no one saw it. No one went to see it, and it's such a great film. And there's so many great independent films that are worth looking out for. I wish there was a little bit more of a support for those films, because the other ones don't need it.
Part of it, I think a lot of it just has to do with the glut of content that's out right now. I mean, it used to be, in the old days, you basically got whatever was put in front of you, and that was it. But now, there's so much content.
It's more than that, though. It's not just that there's a lot of content. We live in I'm really talking against myself here, but we live in an era of the franchise industrial complex. Mm-hmm. There's just, there are so many universes with giant films that you are supposed to go and see.
Right.
And they're great. Most of them are good, but I just really think that as we go 10, 15, 20 years down the line and we look back at the films that we loved when we were in this period, we're going to maybe miss some new blood, some new ideas and some new characters. We're not going to get a new Indiana Jones now if we're going to go see all the Marvel films, all the DC films, all the Star Wars films.
I totally agree, and I think my point with it, there's so much of everything now, is that people's attentions are stretched so thin that a recognizable thing just it rises above everything, and I think people are stressed with how much content there is. What are they supposed to watch?
Stop defending the status quo, man.
I'm not defending it. I'm just saying because I think some very interesting things have happened in the last year or two, which is Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool, being things that people widely didn't know and really kind of defied the standard franchise industrial
complex. I like Marvel
complex.
comics too.
Yes, but I mean, no one. But they defied what people knew in terms of IP.
Yeah.
And still managed to.
But what about Batman and Superman, man? And what about Star Wars? And what about that? They're all franchises. We know these things. It's great. There's lots of stuff. There's
you
lots of merch.
You want more attention for the midnight specials of the world.
I just want some new stuff. I want lots of things. I want to be able to talk to someone and say, "Hey, have you seen this movie? You probably know nothing about it, and it's fantastic. You should go see it." And then they will go see that movie instead of, "You should go see this movie. Oh, it's already out of theaters. You have to wait and watch it on Netflix."
Right. So, what would be your perfect? What would be your perfect world? What is your perfect world for the cinema goer?
I don't even know how you get there, but I think more parts of studios that see it as a responsibility to try and bring new things to the audience that they may not know that they want. But this is a business, so they're going to go for the things that make the most sense financially, where they know that there's an audience that's pre-existing. Maybe they'll make the I don't know. They'll make the Coca-Cola movie, or things that you recognize. Oh, Shell Oil. I know Shell Oil. I'll go see the Shell Oil movie.
I don't know if anyone would go see the Shell Oil movie, even if they knew it. I think some of the.
I have a Mustang. I'm going to go see the Mustang movie.
I'll tell you what, though, because I do agree that we are in this franchise industrial complex, but I do believe that that there is responsibility that lands on us as consumers to, rather than make the easy choices, like maybe once a week, sit down with your family or your kids or whatever and go, we're just gonna do a random. We're gonna watch a movie that we wouldn't normally watch in some genre that we wouldn't normally watch just to see.
Ask me if I would make Warcraft 2.
Would you make Warcraft 2?
Yeah, probably.
But in between that, a very intimate movie,
absolutely, that no one's ever heard of
about
before.
A guy who's struggling. Is that like what do you think of? What do you think in this age of art being so tied to commerce, and like what is art to you? Do you think there's any way that it can have any kind of commercial value, or do you feel like it can't?
I think you got to be savvy, and I think Chris Nolan's a very good example of someone who has managed to use the leverage of their success in that franchise world to start creating things of their own that audiences don't know anything about, and they'll still turn up. That is amazing, and that is a career goal worth having.
Sure.
I love the Coen brothers and the fact that they'll do that. I love Tarantino and the fact that he'll do that. People who make their own stuff, and hopefully, if I ever get to the point where people like my movies enough that they'll go see them because I made them, and not because not because it's the Shell Oil or the Coca-Cola movie.
Right.
I would love to get to that place. Hopefully one day I will, and then I'm going to give you some stuff that you really weren't expecting.
And do you already know what these things are? Do you feel like...
I got a few of them. I
mean, it's got to be frustrating that, because in so many other forms of media, it's like if you're a musician, you can write 20 songs.
Yeah.
But if you're a filmmaker, you really can focus on one movie over the span of a few years. And I'm sure you have these other things that are nibbling at you, and you have to figure out how to push them aside and stay focused.
Those are some of the things I did get to talk about with my dad. Just as far as the differences between working in the music industry and working in the film industry, especially when you want to make something which is a bit more genre and a bit more unusual, in that you can make a demo of a music track on your own, on your MacBook.
Yeah,
it's more difficult to do that with a film. I mean, there are things you can do, obviously, but there isn't the same satisfaction of being able to deliver to an audience something the way you saw it in your head, unless you have a lot of money and to make it in film. Whereas with music, you can deliver something that the audience can appreciate and understand. Oh, that was the intention. That's what the artist was trying to make. In film, it's more difficult to do that unless you have to be investable. You have to make something that's going to make money because it's an expensive business.
Yeah. How are you doing, by the way? Since
I'm okay.
as someone who lost his dad a couple of years ago, how are you doing?
I thought you meant whether I can afford to live somewhere.
Whether you can afford to live somewhere?
Yeah, no, I'm okay.
How are you doing? Do you need some...
No, financially I'm okay. We have, my wife and I have a place to live.
Do you want $200?
Could I put it in a film?
That's the artist answer right there. That's the artist answer. No, but as someone who lost his dad a couple of years ago, and I'm okay.
I'm good. He's, I was very fortunate. We got a chance to say our goodbyes, so I'm good.
Because obviously, I noticed that you went dark on social media for a little bit, which I think was a very, very wise thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think just to the rest of the world, it was I don't think that many people knew what was going on. So I haven't really seen the shock of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I brought it up today. It's a weird one for me. I don't really know how to talk about it or what to say about it, other than the fact that, like I said, we got a chance to say our goodbyes, and weird things make me miss him. But it's still early days. I'm sure I always will, but it's tricky. He was a big gravitational pull in my life as far as who I saw myself as. How I separated myself from the world and how I saw myself.
If I could just give you a piece of dad advice in this arena, because this was given to me when my dad passed away. It was very fresh for a while, and it felt very raw for a while. Particularly the first 6 months to a year. But then after that, this kind of thing happens where the things that feel painful to think about or things that feel painful to remember actually are kind of strangely comforting.
Yeah.
And I still, like, literally even just last night, I had a dream where he was just back and we were hanging out, and like it never leaves. And you really, the things that I never appreciated when I was younger, when I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like my dad. Now I'm kind of like, that's really awesome. That I see him, so it's still there.
Could we get some couches in here?
Yeah. Do you want to lie down? Listen, man, we don't even,
it's bittersweet because right now my wife is very pregnant. And she's due in June. So actually, at the same time that Warcraft, coming to a cinema near you, is out. So the baby and the movie will be out at the same time. Hopefully, on the red carpet.
Now you're going to have an Alliance theme birth or a Horde theme birth is the question.
I don't know.
You don't pick a side.
I've been told not to decide on
but
that
this
yet.
you shouldn't. Yeah, don't. You're just merely, you're
I think,
putting it out there for everyone.
marketing will tell us which is more popular when the movie comes out, and then that will be the theme for the baby. Will definitely skew to that demographic.
It is kind of strange the way life works that way, is that you experience a loss, but then you also have like the greatest gift that you're about to get, which is your child. And so what did you take?
No tusks. That would be bad.
We don't know.
That would be bad.
What did you take away from your relationship with your dad that you feel like you're bringing into this new relationship with your unborn child?
I think the fun bit is just being brave, and I think it's more about taking the choices that you don't think are yours to take. I think if you want to try something, if you want to do something, if you want to do something in a way that hasn't been done before, that's okay, and just to go for it.
Gary Oldman was just on the podcast, and
wow,
very good friends with your dad.
And
when he started talking about it, he actually he cried and just said it.
He's eerily similar to my dad. I mean, I know it might not seem that way, but personality-wise, accent-wise, they're very, very similar guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually, to be honest, in all these years of watching Gary Oldman, I never knew what his actual accent was until he started talking. I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
But he just said even sort of in the last days, they would Skype, and he said your dad just wouldn't complain. He'd go, well, no, tell me about you. How are you? And it just seemed like such a knowing the experience that I've had with you over the past couple of years. We've hung out a few times, and I've always thought, God, Duncan is like such a nice, warm, sweet, caring guy.
Yeah, I am.
And that must be a testament to your parents. Like nice people typically come from nice people.
I think that's my dad was a very good guy.
Yeah. Well, I am very excited that your wife is like a week or two months away.
2 months. Oh, what is it now? May, April. Well, yeah. Oof.
Do you know what it?
Yes, it's just the correct choice. Not that we got to choose, but
do you already all set? Like, do you have names? Do you have everything? Is everything?
Yeah, we got names.
You got names.
Oh, we got names. We got all the names. 15 names.
Lord Barlington, Everworth, Picklesby,
Warcraft, Coca-Cola,
Shell Oilsworth.
We got so many gifts coming to us, though. All the Coca-Cola we can drink.
You see, people's babies are going to be like boxers now, where it just says like Caesar's Palace on the arm and like Draft Kings on the side or whatever they say. This baby was sponsored by. That is where we're going. I mean, that is literally where we're going.
We got to borrow your VR camera for the birth. That everyone can watch from any angle. No, this is a bad idea.
What?
I'm being told this is a bad idea.
I would be surprised if that's not being done. I would actually be surprised if that's not being done yet. There is definitely going to be VR birth footage somewhere. There is.
Really? It's happened? Oh, that's kind of sweet. But at least it's just one person watching it, not like everyone.
No, he put it up.
Was it Periscope? It was on Periscope.
It was on Periscope. It streamed on Periscope and Facebook Live. He did a Snapchat that lasted for like a day.
You did a podcast about it afterwards.
Do a podcast about it. But the other thing that I've said is that I used to stress a lot about really stupid things, and I think I still do. I think I still do. It's a human thing to do. But when I lost my dad, it made me realize that, nothing's really that bad. You know what I mean? Like, everything else after that is just, you just sort of take it in stride, because you're like, well, it's not that. So
yeah, we've had a crazy few years. My lovely wife went through crazy cancer. We were basically finishing cancer treatment at the start of Warcraft, and then Dad passed away from cancer at the end of Warcraft. It's just been and her dad passed away a couple of weeks ago. It's just been an assault of stuff.
So how do you kind of how do you keep from going crazy?
It's all the sponsorship from the various
the sponsorship coming
companies that just want to help us out,
But in seriousness, you must have some advice. Like, there must be something that you've been able to extrapolate from all this, and that, like, how have you not?
I mean, I think what you said a couple of minutes ago was absolutely correct. I think you go through as much garbage as we've been through recently, and you kind of realize it doesn't matter. You're going to be okay. There's going to be a life ahead of you, and it's going to be fantastic. Just make it that way.
Yeah.
And see it that way. And I think that's the best you can do.
Is any part of it odd, or maybe you're just used to this because you grew up with it, but the rest of the world seeing your dad as this character, but then you knowing the real person, is there any type that's like, because everyone I'm sure is trying to take ownership over it, like, is that weird at all, or is it comforting?
I don't know. I'm still in the thick of it. Like I said, I brought it up, so I kind of we're talking about it more than I would have wanted to or felt comfortable doing. But I'm obviously affected by someone that I knew passing away. Everyone else is affected by someone else that they knew. They're just as important to them and how they see them, but we're talking about two different people.
Absolutely. So, can you then, going into the sort of Warcraft, can you sort of predict, once the movie comes out, like, that is really kind of the end of this era, like this last couple of years?
It really feels like it.
Isn't it?
I mean, it's been such a crazy year, and it's been so perfectly bookended that it really feels like, okay, that's a phase of life that happened and is now, we're moving on to something else now. And look, all of the emotions and crazy things we went through to make the film, because it was a challenge. It was a huge movie. We spent 3.5 years on it. It's, all of that energy and what was going on got channeled into the movie. So there's a lot of weird stuff in the movie which is more emotional than you might expect for a movie of this type, I'd say. I mean, I'm not a well, everything happens for a reason kind of guy. But it is insane to me, the kind of the astronomical calculation that when Warcraft comes out, the end of this era where there is this kind of like this whole experience and the death in the last few years, that this next phase of your life is literally a physical embodiment of a person who is being born. Well, I really have the strategists at Chipotle to thank for that. Because it was their plan to make. Now, I just want to throw this out to you. For an extra $1, we can make your baby wet, and we can put we can add the cojito cheese on top for an extra $1. Well, that is one of his middle names. It's Guac. Guac Jones. You have to make Guac Jones. That would be fucking amazing. Guac Jones is like Indiana Jones' dumb shit cousin. It's like, Christ, like you have to pitch Guac Jones in the upcoming. But I think it is pretty incredible that particularly in this instance, that life has worked out this way, and that you have this hopeful new chapter to look forward to. Well, thank you for making it happen. I didn't do anything. Oh, okay. No, I didn't do anything. Dr. Ruth. I did not. What happened to Dr. Ruth? I know. Oh, I think she's not around anymore. Did she pass away? She's still alive. Around? You should get her on the show. She'd be amazing.
I'm sure she still knows exactly. I'm sure she knows exactly what's going on. Are you an LA person or are you a London person?
I'm an LA person now. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I've been here for quite a few years actually. But we keep disappearing, obviously, because we go make the movies. So we're in Montreal for Source Code and Vancouver for Warcraft, and then we'll be in Berlin for the next one, hopefully, if that happens.
If Mute happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you ever just think, maybe I should just shoot a movie in my backyard?
Oh, 100%. No, it's especially now that we have the baby coming, if Mute happens, we'll come back, and I would love to work it out that I can stay at home and in LA for a little while. Yeah.
I mean, it is the thing that I hear about, when you have kids, everything changes. And I think on an intellectual level,
unless you're Ridley Scott and you basically just turn all of your kids into your crew, that's genius.
That is genius. Because they got to work for free.
How old does he have to be a mic stand?
Not very old, actually.
Not old.
No,
just
not very old.
Hold a mic up. That's, 4?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually a baby could probably,
sandbag.
Yeah.
We need sandbags
you need
for
a
all
sandbag?
the lighting stands.
Or if you could, you could once the baby starts crawling, it would crawl toward people. You could just put a GoPro on the baby.
That's true. You could probably do some cool shots with baby cam.
I'm actually surprised someone had to have done that, right? You just get a room full of babies and strap cameras to their heads and just see what you get. I mean, I wouldn't do that. I mean, someone could do that. Not me, of course.
You could sew the ends of the baby to the next baby. No, that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea.
Guys! No, yes, baby centipede. Come on. My little centipede babies. It'd be like Muppet Babies.
There's your sequel. They made a few sequels, but
there's your sequel. They've
Kindergarten Scientist.
We need to go through and make baby versions of all
the horror movies?
Adorable, all the horror movies.
Oh, that's great.
Last Dollhouse on the left, because it has its own,
Freddie Jr.
They're all just babies, because people love babies, they love horror.
I'm in your dreams.
Wait. Then who did baby Freddy Krueger murder? A bunch of tinier babies? I don't know how that would have worked. Yeah, listen, just even as a fun thing, we should just make that just for fun. We should just do a series of trailers of baby versions of all the movies.
I like it.
That we want to see. So what are you gonna take? You must have to take some time off once the movie comes out. Once the baby's born.
Yes, we're taking a month off.
A whole month.
We look. The crazy thing is just the way we've scheduled things that it wasn't intentional. But if Mute goes, we spend a month here and then we go to Berlin and start pre-production and shoot for the end of this year.
What is it specifically that you're waiting for this movie to start? Is it financing?
It's just some final kind of sign-offs on things. Contractual kind of things. But
here's what I'm getting at. You go to film school.
Yeah.
You understand all the stuff of actually making a movie.
Yeah.
I assume film school doesn't necessarily teach you about the finance process.
Right.
So
that is correct.
What is the typical lifespan, once a thing is done and you go, okay, now I'm ready to go out and try to make it. What are the different bullshit things that you have to go through?
When a director loves a producer
very much,
and they love each other very much, and they start working together, then a movie is born. That's kind of how it works.
That might be an oversimplification of how it works. That might be an oversimplification of how it works.
I have a producing partner, a buddy that I've been working with since Moon, and we've been working together. He is incredibly good at his job. So right now, my job is kind of, tweaking the script, talking to actors, kind of having the fun stuff. He is neck deep in the dark arts of putting a deal together.
I mean, using your analogy,
yeah.
If baby making was the same as filmmaking,
yeah.
The gestation process would be about 9 years. It would constantly be, listen, I really want to try to put my sperm in the egg. Listen, we're waiting for that. These German investors are going to come in. They're going to bring this. They're going to give you the money for the sperm to put in the egg, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going back and forth with their people, and then business affairs gets involved at the same time.
And we want to give you some notes on the position as well that you.
I just think there's so much about the creative process that's not technically creative that I think it can be dangerous.
It's different. I think studio films are one thing, and there are realities that you have to be willing to roll with. And I think if you can accept and understand those up front, you can make things work in your favor, and you can creatively use those as a puzzle to solve. I think when you're doing independent films, there's kind of no safety net in the sense that you would have with a studio film. But there is a liberating and scary freedom that you have on independent films. So I think they are two different disciplines, and they're both challenging, and they can both end up making great movies, but they're very different.
Yeah. Did you find that did you find that you've not had as much time to play games as you?
I always have time to play games.
What are you playing besides Super Hot?
Well, XCOM 2, obviously. Obviously. I'm such a fan of XCOM. Those games were fantastic. Back in the day, they were fantastic. And now that they've been reimagined by Firaxis, they're even more fantastic.
What was your first gaming platform?
I guess it was the old Atari.
The 2600?
Yeah, but then we got a Commodore 64.
Sure.
So I was using that for a while, but I really got into my gaming groove with the Amiga 500.
Right.
That was kind of there was kind of in the UK there were kind of the war was between the Spectrum people and the Amiga guys.
Right.
I was an Amiga guy. So that kind of really got me into gaming.
It's hard to imagine a time when there was gaming and like no forums. It's hard.
I know, isn't it? It's weird. Or even just multiplayer.
Right.
Because I remember multiplayer for me when I was a kid, back in my day,
when
multiplayer was sitting next to your buddy with some grid paper and he'd draw maps.
Back when the Queen Mom was only 80.
We both got the same old man voice.
We do have the same old man voice. Is there another one? And yours is weirdly not British, which is surprising to me.
Hey, I'm an international transatlantic Eurotrash.
Unfortunately, I'm too ethnocentric, and so that's why mine was this guy. He's kind of the prospector. Yeah, it is kind of funny that multiplayer was basically just come over and watch each other play games
or draw maps, because I used to play a lot of role playing RPGs.
Sure.
CRPGs.
Yes.
And one of us, we take turns, so one of us would be kind of controlling, like step forward, step north, and then the other person would be drawing grid by grid the maps for all of the dungeons.
Oh my God! Yeah, I still. Did you play D&D or did you play? What did you play?
I played. What you mean as far as those games?
Yeah, as far as those.
That
old
would have been things like Wizardry and the Ultima series. So.
Right. We called it the Sorcerer's Stone, and yours was the Philosopher's Stone. That's probably what the.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah.
But there was I found a video of there was a very famous clown show in the United States called Bozo the Clown.
Oh yeah.
And someone posted on the Obscure Media subreddit from 1979, the Bozo the Clown show saw the video game. They just saw it happening.
Yeah.
So they had a segment on their show called POW. And it was basically someone would call in.
Yeah.
And they had a TV screen, a shitty TV screen with essentially Pong. And it would fire this disc, and this other line, the person on the phone would go, "Pow!" And they would say that would shoot a square out to try to hit the line, and in like 30 seconds they had to hit the line as much as possible. But I have this video, and I'll post it on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
Of it was actually like an older woman who called in, and the guy's like, "Well, you're not normally our demographic, but all right." And it was 30 seconds, this woman going, "Pow! Pow! Pow!" and trying to hit, and it was oddly mesmerizing. Did you guys have any like video game Let's Play?
Yeah, we did.
Shows?
There was some early. Oh God, someone online's going to have to help me. But there was a British game show for kids that was basically there was like a sort of a dungeon master type character, and you would basically the kids would put on this helmet that they couldn't see, and then. What's that called?
Master of the Maze.
Master of the Maze?
Yeah.
And then someone off, on the side would basically tell them which direction to walk?
Yep.
Yeah.
By Mario Lopez in America.
Oh, really? Okay.
What wasn't? leave it to Kyle. Leave it to Kyle Clark.
Don't be jealous.
I'm not jealous. You're jealous.
You can have that
That
job.
he got to host that and I didn't get to host that show. Duncan Jones. Yeah, I hosted the American version of Singled Out. Ours was first. All right? So your British version of Singled Out should take care of any kind of reparations that happened when we branched off from you guys. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I kind of, of course, I love modern gaming, but the thing that I also miss is that sense of your imagination being a character of the game.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like a lot of that.
Yeah, the greater the fidelity of the game, the kind of less you have to invest with your mind.
Yeah, because you're constantly just going, wow, that's amazing, and look at that's amazing. But, you know, you should, if you haven't done it yet, have you played Critical Role yet?
No.
Critical Role is a show on Geek and Sundry, which is in this building.
Yeah.
My friend Matt Mercer basically has this DM campaign, this campaign, and he's the DM, and it's really, really fun, and it makes you remember just what it was like when you were using nothing more than some dice in your imagination. It's so engaging.
Did you ever play Shadowrun? We were talking about this online the other day.
No.
Shadowrun. Do you know what Shadowrun is?
No.
It's kind of this. It's a cyberpunk fantasy crossover thing. So it's kind of a William Gibson-esque cyberpunk setting, but then there's like orcs and ogres and magic users and all this other stuff on top of it.
Sounds like a Bakshi cartoon.
It's such. I mean, I never got to play the game properly with other people. I'd like write these. This is going to sound really sad.
Please.
This is like kind of. Do we have the Incredible Hulk walking away music? So basically, I'd make these incredible campaigns, but I had no one to play with. So I have all of these prepared campaigns. Oh, you stop now.
I'm sorry.
I'm getting emotional.
I know. I didn't mean to.
So I had all these campaigns and things that I'd done, but I never got to play it. And it just the manuals, all of the detail of what you could do in the game, it looked so cool. But I have to find some people who know how to play Shadowrun.
I'm actually surprised that you must have at some point at least tried to write your own game. I'm surprised you actually haven't.
I worked briefly in a video games company. Actually, more than briefly. It was about a year and a half in London. I just got out of film school, and actually, this is kind of a weird thing. AlphaGo, which was the new AI program, which just beat the world champion.
Yes.
So the guy who's in charge of the company that made AlphaGo is a guy called Demis Hazzabis, and he used to run a computer games company before he got into AI. And that games company was called Elixir Studios, based in Camden in London. And they, he had basically been one of the co-designers for Theme Park. And then he split off from Theme Park. He made his own game, and it was called Republic the Revolution. And it wasn't so good, but I worked at that company while we were making that game. And the idea, tell me this sounds really like I want to play this game.
Okay.
It's an Eastern European political simulator.
Okay. Oh, I'm in. Kids love it.
And basically the idea is that you're kind of some street tough. It's kind of pre-GTA. And the idea was you're kind of some street tough, and you've got to work your way up the political system using all these various machinations to become leader of this Eastern European country. So I worked for like a year and a half as an assistant designer on that.
Sounds really fun.
On that game. It didn't, I think we were a little ahead of the technology.
Yeah.
So it never quite worked out, but I worked in the games industry. I felt like I learned an awful lot from the experience. I actually met some fantastic guys like Gavin Rothery, who I ended up working on Moon with as sort of a concept artist and all-round sort of visual genius.
That is the most British name I've almost ever heard.
Gavin Rothery.
Gavin Rothery.
One day, I hope you have the chance to meet him. He is the most British person you will ever, but Northern British. So
okay.
he's fantastic. He's like a character out of Lord of the Rings.
What is it about the North that gets? Because that was a Doctor Who joke that I never really got. And they're like, you sound like you're from the North. Well, lots of places have a North. Like, what is it about the North distinction?
I'm not gonna get into that quandary.
Okay, all right.
There's still a war going on back.
Okay, I understand.
Winter is coming. Basically, everything that's going on in Games of Thrones is based on
all
the wars between the North and the South in the UK.
What is it? Is there anything about gaming that you think is? Are you able to be in that world and not take any of the shit talking personally, or do you engage in any of the shit talking? It's like,
I don't play that many multiplayer games anymore. I went through a phase where I was kind of into Call of Duty back when it was a World War II game.
Right.
I used to play a lot of that. I had like a group that I used to play with a lot, and Unreal Tournament and all those kind of first-person shooters. And then I think I kind of just weirdly by happenstance I kind of became less involved in that stuff as the trash talking really kind of took off. So it wasn't something I ever really had to deal with that much.
I think it'd be really fun to I like the idea of getting together with people and doing that sort of stuff.
Like a LAN kind of
yeah,
situation?
like a LAN party, a LAN party type of a situation.
I'll bring my desktop.
Oh, you totally should. I have a good gaming PC laptop. I'll just bring it wherever we can come.
Absolutely.
Because I do think. I do think as connected as we all are, it's still very isolating the way that you interact with this stuff. And I just like that. I think that's why something like D&D is so great, because it does force you to like be together and work together as a group and socialize.
No, absolutely. No, I think it's this. It doesn't like Will Wheaton I think plays a lot of
Will does. Will plays a shit ton of every kind of game.
Right.
Like, he's a big board games guy, and he's not as much a video game guy anymore, but he's very much a
we kind of just got back into real world interlocuting with people recently with the guys from Rocket Jump.
Yeah.
So we meet with them and we sit and talk in person, playing games with our hands.
What are you going to do when your kid is like 4, 5, 6 starts playing games? Are you going to be the parent that's like, okay, you should go outside and for a minute, or are you going to be like, yeah, keep going?
I'm going to tell him I'm at Man-Made Moon, and you can find me on Twitter. And if you want to talk, if you have any questions, just tweet them to me. and and I'm sure I'll DM you. You're gonna do a live
personal.
It'll be on the DM.
You can do a live Facebook Q&A with your kid. Okay, if you have any questions,
anyone else? You again?
Yeah, boy, you have a lot.
Diaper again?
I just changed you. I'm sorry. Anyone else? Anyone else? I got to go change that guy over there. Is it? I mean, this era that we're getting in of people like the Gen Xers who grew up with the gaming industry and with it. Like, I know when I have kids, I'm going to sit down and try to force them to play Super Mario 3 or whatever else.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know how many old games I'd actually try and get them. I don't think I'd do that to them. Because I think I have very fond memories of those games, but I'm pretty sure they're not. If you watch them now, they're probably not as much fun as I remember them being.
Sure.
So I don't know if I'd inflict that on them, and I probably would want them to go outside, my kids, or
because you're going to put a gaming rig out in the patio.
Yeah, I'm going to put the Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang it from a tree. I'll put them on a swing, and then I'll put the Oculus Rift on them, and it'll be like they're really on a swing.
It'll really feel... Or it'll just like the pool will have AR water in it, but not real water, and they can just sort of like, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what... I'm so excited for that. I think VR's fine, but I'm so excited for AR. I'm so excited for interacting with the world. I think VR is cool, but I think it's limited the amount of experiences that you can really have. But
how distracted do you already get with your phone? Just when you're like talking to people or walking around. Yeah, but you actually had augmented reality stuff around you as you're trying to function in the world.
True, but at least like with a phone. I think the part of the problem now is that machines force us to interface with them like machines.
Yeah.
So your face is constantly down your phone, but at least if you were looking out at the world, I feel like that's still a step up, even if you're looking at an augmented world.
But if you're having a conversation with someone and there's like latest sports scores and stuff appearing by your head,
right?
Is that really a great?
Or I can just see pictures. I can just see those dick pics that leaked out of you that are. It's like, oh,
or you putting on your frog suit,
or me putting on my. Okay, I need to give the audience some context for that.
Okay.
We showed a thing on At Midnight last night of a guy in a sex suit that was simulating, and it looks like an old wartime frog suit, or it kind of looked like the thing that Mike TV puts on in Willy Wonka. It looked like a clean suit, and it has all these straps, and then there's a chest piece that he can kind of grab onto and fondle, and then an undulating. Basically a suck bot, and he has the virtual reality, and what he was watching though was anime, so he was fucking this anime girl, but still had the real time.
No tentacles?
No tentacles. Okay. Well, I'm sure that's coming, but I just said. I go, no one's gonna fucking go to work anymore. Like, why would you go to your IT job to get yelled at by people when you could stay at home and fuck everything?
Well, the timing is probably pretty good then, because as our robot overlords start to reach a point where they can take all our jobs, and there are no jobs left for us, we need that kind of entertainment to keep us going with our lack of careers.
We were theorizing on the show how many how many skeletons would be discovered in fuck suits of just like people who
That's hideous. You're a bad man. My love, will you cover our baby's ears? Our unborn baby's ears?
That's all right. The baby's wrapped up in a Chipotle tortilla. The baby
true.
can't hear.
Yeah, I'm going to have to sew him to another baby anyway, so he's already heard the worst.
I like the sentence, I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to. This is what is
what the people want.
That's what they want to see.
It's a pre-existing franchise. So you can't argue with pre-existing franchises.
You can't. That's what canon means. Like, that's what canon means. But I do think you have a healthy perspective, even though we make all the jokes about, the corporation sponsoring and owning everything. It feels like you have a very healthy perspective on, not everything has to be all one thing. That you got to sneak
the creativity in wherever you can.
Yeah.
And I think, look, I love Warcraft. I played it. I played it from the first real-time strategy Orcs and Humans right through up until the beta for for vanilla World of Warcraft. And then I wasn't able to keep going with the expansion packs because I had to work and earn a living.
Right.
I love that universe, and I'm glad that I got the chance to do this film. I got to work very closely with Blizzard, so I got to understand and really get to work with guys like Wei Wang, the amazing concept artist who designed our orcs. I am very, very grateful that I got to do this. I hope I get the chance to take the story further, because we've kind of set up some things which I think are worth moving further along with. But I also want to make some other things that nobody else has any, specificity on what it should be. I think there are some unique ideas that don't need everyone else's perspective on what it should be.
Yeah, well, when Duratan at the end gets in the DeLorean and they take off and fly away, something's got to be done about your kids. Like, it's such a great way to end the movie, I think.
Well, KFC, was... I'm sorry. I've run with that one too long.
No, it gets funnier every time. Believe me, it's fine.
Okay.
But I just
the crossover with Harry Potter is going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. I mean,
lots of magic,
tons of magic, a lot of wand casting, some hippogriffs. Like, it's going to be amazing.
And Spider-Man,
and of course Spider-Man. Yeah.
Who's in everything now? I've heard
Spider-Man's.
The next phase is to put Spider-Man in every movie.
Yeah, well, they're doing a CSI spinoff.
He just kind of comes in and waves.
Just comes in and shoots a web, and then gets out. It was. I mean, I got to be honest. It was pretty enjoyable to see him in the Civil War trailer, even just for that. Second. I mean, that was.
What did you think? How did you feel about the animated eyes?
I don't know yet. It is, because obviously that happened in Deadpool too. They had to animate the eyes. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to me, because I don't understand how that would be a thing.
Yeah.
But I guess
the eyes didn't animate in the comic book. So
they did not animate in the comic book, well, because it's a fucking mask.
And it's a comic book.
And it's also a comic book. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I think I'm keeping an open mind about it. Like, I'm not someone who likes to immediately go, well, fuck that.
No, of course.
I just kind of go. For me, even if it's not really a purist approach, I would go, well, they try to do something to make the character more interactive or enjoyable in some way, and so I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with it. What is the release date of Warcraft?
June 10th in the United States of America.
And the UK is doing their own version of Warcraft.
The UK, actually, I think, comes out a week earlier.
Okay.
And then there's a couple of other countries that come out like a week earlier than that.
Earlier than the United States?
I think it's out in France first.
What?
How weird is that?
This is an outrage to the internet. Can you find a place to cut in that other conversation that we had before?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear the conversation, so I don't know how it started, but I can
just some crackling noises like there's bad reception.
Yeah. just like a time jump.
Just break everyone's ears.
But honestly, all that behind you, congratulations on the movie, and congratulations on the soon-to-be birth of your child.
Thank you very much.
And you're always you're such a sweet guy that I always feel like I wish I could actually hang out with Duncan without just being.
You can. I have no friends. Just tell me whenever you want. I'll come over. You should get me and Rob Kaczynski. Rob doesn't have any friends either. We'll just come hang out behind you. Whatever you're doing, we'll just sit there.
We'll just stare at each other. We can come out and just stare at each other and talk about. We need to do like Grandpa Gen X stuff and just sit around and talk about the old days of gaming when you had to.
As those characters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you go. We'll all do this.
You had to wind up your own computer.
We just need to see if Kaczynski also has a similar old man character. His could be like, well, I don't know. Then what's all this then? Like he could be a what's all this then old guy.
That's perfect.
Thank you so much, and thank you. Thank you for being open about stuff. I think people are obviously people want to make sure you're okay.
Thank you.
And all that stuff. So,
thank you very much for letting me talk about things.
Absolutely. This podcast is brought to you by Burger King. Burger Apple. Coming to a Burger King now. Get an Apple computer.
By the good people at Shake Shack.
You're just saying that because you want Shake Shack to sell you stuff.
I haven't been able to get to the friggin' line. It's too long. I can't get in there. I need my burgers.
I told you need to. Shake Shack needs to have guides like Disneyland. You pay someone like $5,000. They give you a tour. They take you to the front of the line. They get you a burger, and then you leave. That's what Shake Shack needs.
Yep.
Send him a goddamn burger, Shake Shack, please. Thank you so much, Duncan Jones.
Thanks, buddy.
Enjoy your burrito, everyone.